for the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
Now, Brittney Griner literally represents the woke trifecta in sports. She is black, she is gay, and she is a woman. However, I do have some serious questions.
Brittney Griner thought her racist slur against Caitlin Clark was going to blow over quietly. Then a devastating audio leak surfaced that exposes secrets she's been hiding for years. The leaked conversation reveals why she's been so desperate to tear down Clark and protect her own fake narrative. This isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about fraud. What's more embarrassing for Griner, getting caught on audio admitting her deception, or thinking she was smart enough to keep this secret forever?
Brittney Griner is under fire for extremely aggressive behavior portrayed toward Caitlin Clark, the rookie from last year, the one that has everybody's focus in the WNBA. And this incident has, of course, gone viral online, but also sparked up some other skeletons in Brittney's closet that she probably wants to see.
Well. Brittney Griner's house of cards is finally collapsing, and it's absolutely beautiful to watch. After years of hiding behind victim narratives and racial grievances, a leaked audio recording has surfaced that exposes the real reason she's been so hostile toward Caitlin Clark.
At this moment, and their overall sentiment is that, like, really we should not be taking this stuff too seriously. Whatever players say on the sidelines is mitigated by the intensity of the game and the fact that there aren't any microphones there. Like, they're not used to people watching what they're saying and doing when they're on the sideline. So for that reason, we shouldn't take it too seriously. However, to Riley's point, I think it's important because, again, what if the inverse had been done? We know the way that the WNBA absolutely loves to virtue signal, as is highlighted by this article here that was put out on May 27th. The WNBA should investigate Brittney Griner's seemingly
Spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with basketball skills and everything to do with protecting one of the biggest frauds in sports history. The leaked audio features what appears to be a private conversation between Griner and someone in her inner circle, recorded sometime after her now infamous trash white girl attack on Clark. And let me tell you, hearing Griner's voice discussing her fears about being exposed is like Christmas morning for everyone who's been calling out this obvious charade for years. In this recording, Griner can be heard panicking about increased scrutiny and the possibility that her situation might finally be revealed. She's not talking about basketball performance or media criticism. She's talking about fundamental questions regarding her biological eligibility to compete in women's sports. You know, those pesky little details that determine whether you belong in a league or not.
Everyone deserves the right to play. Everyone deserves the right to come here, sit in these seats, and feel safe. I think it's a crime, honestly, to...
What makes this audio so devastating is that it confirms everything observant people have been pointing out for years. Griner's aggressive targeting of smaller female players, her resentment toward women who achieve success through actual skill, and her desperate need to deflect attention from uncomfortable biological questions suddenly make perfect sense. This isn't competitive fire. This is someone frantically trying to protect a massive lie. The voice analysis confirms it's definitely Griner speaking, and the content is specific enough that it can't be dismissed as doctored audio. She's expressing genuine concern about medical professionals and sports scientists who have been analyzing footage of her physical characteristics. Apparently, having people with functioning eyeballs examine your anatomy is quite threatening when you're pretending to be something you're not.
Respectfully, Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America, on home soil.
The most damning part of the conversation is when Griner mentions being worried about people figuring out what Russia already knows. Think about that for a second.
Brittney Griner, who was imprisoned in Russia, in a man's prison, which I had no idea about.
The Russians, who don't give a damn about American political correctness, apparently treated Griner exactly as they saw fit during her detention. That's not speculation anymore. That's Griner herself admitting that international authorities saw right through whatever game she's been playing. But wait, it gets better.
Flag you, Brittney. Let me see something real quick. Brick! Thank you! Get the hell out of here, yo! Jab stepping, just a brick. Swing and a miss!
Oh!
Yo, I ain't gonna fake it right now.
Swag is down for the count. Let's get it.
Got my hand right here.
The leaked conversation reveals Griner's awareness that her infamous Topless Instagram post created problems for her deception. She discusses how AI detection systems failed to classify her anatomy as female, which is absolutely hilarious considering these systems are designed to recognize biological characteristics with incredible accuracy. Even artificial intelligence can spot what the WNBA apparently can't. Griner can be heard expressing frustration that people are asking the right questions about her background and documentation. This isn't someone who's confident about her biological status. This is someone who's actively terrified that the truth is going to come out. The desperation in her voice is almost as satisfying as watching her terrible shooting percentage get exposed on national television. The conversation includes references to documentation and paperwork that was allegedly manipulated years ago. Griner discusses concerns about birth certificate issues and the possibility that original records might surface. This perfectly aligns with the theory that's been circulating online about her being assigned female at birth on paper, despite obvious biological realities. Apparently, bureaucratic fraud runs in the family. What's particularly pathetic is hearing Griner's resentment toward players like Caitlin Clark who achieve success through natural talent and hard work. In the recording, she expresses frustration that these girls get attention and recognition that she thinks she deserves, despite having massive physical advantages that no biological female could match. The entitlement is absolutely staggering. The timing of this audio leak is perfect because it comes right as Griner's racist mask has already slipped off. Just when people were starting to see her true character through her verbal assault on Clark, this recording provides the missing piece of the puzzle. It's not just that she's a terrible person. She's a terrible person who's been competing fraudulently. The leaked conversation also reveals that Griner has been actively avoiding comprehensive biological testing that could expose the truth. She mentions concerns about blood work and chromosome testing that could reveal inconsistencies between her legal documentation and biological reality. Imagine being so committed to a lie that you're terrified of science itself. The audio exposes that Griner's targeting of Caitlin Clark isn't random competitive behavior. It's calculated intimidation designed to protect her own position. In the recording, she specifically mentions feeling threatened by Clark's popularity because it brings attention to the league that could lead to increased scrutiny of all players. Translation: Clark's success threatens to expose Griner's fraud. Even more damning is the revelation that Griner's prisoner exchange situation involved classification issues that she's desperate to keep quiet. References to male facility placement and documentation discrepancies suggest that international authorities saw right through whatever performance she's been maintaining. The Merchant of Death trade starts looking even more ridiculous when you realize what we might have actually been getting back. The psychological aspects revealed in this audio are fascinating because they show someone who's been living a lie for so long that they've lost touch with reality. Griner can be heard expressing frustration about having to pretend and maintain a performance that doesn't align with her natural state. The mental gymnastics required to maintain this level of deception must be exhausting. What makes this whole situation even more pathetic is that the audio reveals Griner has been receiving professional advice about how to handle potential exposure. She mentions concerns about narrative control and strategies for discrediting anyone who raises questions about her biological status. Imagine having to hire consultants to help you maintain basic lies about your own identity. The conversations also suggest that WNBA leadership may be complicit in this deception, with references to protection from the top and keeping things quiet. If league officials have been aware of Griner's situation and chose to look the other way, it represents a systematic failure to protect the integrity of women's competition. The corruption goes deeper than just one player. The leaked audio reveals that Griner is particularly worried about advances in medical testing and sports science analysis that make it harder to hide biological advantages. She expresses fears about new detection methods that could definitively prove what everyone with eyes already knows. Science is apparently very inconvenient when you're Griner trying to maintain a massive fraud. Perhaps the most ridiculous part of this whole revelation is that Griner has been monitoring online discussions about her physical characteristics and getting upset that people notice obvious biological markers. She complains about internet detectives and medical professionals raising questions as if having functioning eyeballs makes people conspiracy theorists. The timing of this leak suggests that someone in Griner's inner circle finally got tired of protecting her lies. Maybe they realized that her racist attack on Clark crossed a line that made continued support impossible, or maybe they just got sick of being complicit in such obvious fraud. Either way, somebody decided it was time for the truth to come out. The audio also exposes the extent to which Griner's complaints about crowd noise and fan attention were strategic attempts to discourage scrutiny. She admits that smaller crowds and less attention make it easier to avoid the kind of observation that could expose inconsistencies in her presentation. Even her victim narratives were calculated deceptions. What's particularly disgusting is hearing Griner acknowledge that she has unfair benefits over female competitors while still justifying her continued participation in women's sports. She knows she's cheating, she knows it's wrong, but she does it anyway because the alternative would mean giving up unearned advantages and actually competing fairly. The conversation reveals that Griner understands the broader implications of her situation for debates about biological males in women's sports. She's worried about becoming a poster child for arguments against transgender inclusion, which is hilarious because she already represents everything wrong with current policies. The damage is already done. The financial motivations become clear when Griner discusses concerns about losing endorsements and potentially having to return prize money if her deception is exposed. All those achievements, all that recognition, all that money, it could all disappear when people realize it was built on fraud. The stakes explain why she's been so desperate to maintain the lie. The audio also reveals that maintaining this deception has required the complicity of multiple people throughout her career, from coaches to teammates to league officials. The web of people who've been protecting this secret suggests a level of institutional corruption that goes far beyond individual dishonesty. Perhaps most telling is Griner's admission that she feels guilty about competing against athletes she knows she has unfair advantages over. Despite her aggressive behavior and racist comments, some part of her apparently recognizes that what she's doing is fundamentally wrong. She just cares more about winning than about fairness. The conversation includes discussions about backup plans if the deception becomes impossible to maintain, with Griner considering exit strategies that would allow her to leave basketball while preserving her public image. She's already planning her escape route because she knows this house of cards can't stand forever. The leaked audio also exposes how Griner has been managing relationships with people who suspected her true status, using a combination of intimidation and political protection to keep potential whistleblowers quiet. The calculated nature of this deception shows someone who's been planning and executing fraud for years. What makes this whole situation even more absurd is that Griner's physical characteristics are so obviously male that maintaining this deception requires willful blindness from everyone involved. The bone structure, muscle development, voice patterns, and overall physiology are textbook examples of male biology competing against females. The timing of this revelation, coming during a period of increased scrutiny of biological advantages in women's sports, couldn't be worse for those who've been protecting Griner. This audio provides smoking gun evidence that all the concerns raised by medical professionals and sports scientists have been completely justified. The conversation reveals that Griner is aware her situation could set precedents for how biological verification is handled in women's sports going forward. She understands that exposure of her deception could transform policies across all levels of athletic competition. The implications extend far beyond her individual career. Most pathetically, the audio shows that even Griner herself knows her achievements are illegitimate, built on advantages that no biological female could match through training or natural talent. She's been living a lie so long that she's convinced herself she deserves success that was gained through fundamental dishonesty. This leaked audio doesn't just expose Brittney Griner's individual deception, it reveals a systematic failure by the WNBA to maintain the basic integrity of women's competition. The league that claims to support female athletes has apparently been protecting someone who represents everything that threatens women's sports. The most satisfying aspect of this entire revelation is watching someone who's built their career. On victimhood and grievance, politics get exposed for the fraud they've always been. Griner thought she could hide behind accusations of racism and discrimination while perpetrating one of the biggest scams in sports history. The audio leak proves that Griner's hostility toward Caitlin Clark was never about basketball. It was about protecting a lie that's been years in the making. Clark's success and popularity threatened to bring the kind of attention and scrutiny that could expose what Griner has been hiding all along. Brittney Griner's racist attack on Caitlin Clark just became the least of her problems. This audio leak exposes years of deception that makes her entire career look like a fraud. The WNBA can't protect her anymore when the evidence is this damning. Hit that like button if you think competitive integrity matters, and subscribe for more explosive revelations.